Good morning, everybody. We got our next inflation report. It came down a titch, a little bit. Let's see what month over month was anticipated at 0.2%, came in at 0.2%. Actually, the last time it said the previous was minus 0.1. Whatever that's supposed to mean. Anyway, core inflation year over year came down 0.1%. Month over month came in at consensus. And the markets had their little wiggles. And for the moment, the short-term trend continues. So now we got this wider range bar yesterday as prices pushed further into the void and actually penetrated into the beginning of this resistance area. And let's get rid of that. And where will it stop? Well, you got the 50 MA up there. As we look to the left of it, something I talked about in the video yesterday that I posted was putting the volume on the side there. And I suspect, that's kind of secondary, volume, but as other people look at other things that certainly that I don't. Um, the way this moved down, it does still have a void, but it could stop in here and maybe it goes up to the top. That would be crazy. It ain't going there today. That 50 MA on the spiders and SPX are going to come into play. Every institution knows it's there. They use it as a reference point, so it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy if it tags it. So is it there yet? Not quite. It's got a little bit more to go to hit that give or take 544. So keep that in mind. SPX, the top number got hit yesterday. That's a rare occurrence. But this has been moving up. And if you're trading these, you need to be aware that that is a starting point as a guide, even though probably 99.8% of the time, then neither strike gets hit. The time it does, if you not know what you're doing, it's going to be painful. So as things start to move up, and you see that kind of a pattern, it's best to wait. And as it moves up, depending on how fast it moves up, a higher strike will become available. If it starts happening in the later part of the day, the time decay will erode. And sometimes you just find that waiting was to no advantage because of the time decay. So it's kind of just a moving target as that goes, as it always is with options when, you've got, volatility and time decay and gamma and all of that hocus pocus kind of stuff there. So today's high number, I believe, is untouchable. Believe is the operative word there. Believe it's untouchable today. And as always, things move around. The bottom number, I think it's unlikely that gets hit either. There are no significant numbers. There's some oil numbers coming in at around 10:30, so keep that in mind. But probably unlikely that it'll go to either strike today. Let's look at the futures today, just to see what they're doing. So patterns, I've found that patterns in the futures are pretty much less reliable than just looking at SPX. Why? Because they contain overnight data where volume is considerably lower. And who's looking at the futures? Futures traders. And the majority of the world is looking at SPX, primarily SPY, which move together. But, so, we talked about the wide range bar, and that was the heading, that the title there was related to this wide range bar. As prices have been moving up, and you see the narrow range bars, and then you get a wider range bar as it gets closer to a targeted area. It is pointing toward an excitement, or the majority is now coming in as that bar expands in range. Now, of course, you could get a bigger bar today, but what we have is in the moment. And one of the things I talked about in the video yesterday was that in the latter part of the day, we started to get, let's see if I can find it here, where prices started to run up here. And I pointed out that, wide range bars in a higher time frame are a bunch of smaller bars in a lower time frame. And so you can see here as prices were moving up, the latter, the doldrums, as we call it, in the lunch period, it was very controlled. Bars were about equal in range, and then they accelerate higher. And that's a heads up that you're getting close to the end of the move in that time frame. And then we had that kind of choppy price action. And so here we are this morning with this whippy stuff going on here. We'll see how that unfolds. NQs, futures here, they got some room to go up. Move this over a little bit here. You can see it's got a lot of room to go up. But, it's been consolidating. We'll see if it takes out the pivots. Maybe give it 20, 30 minutes, give or take. And, we'll see how it holds up here or not. We've got a base there. Again, this is the futures, overnight trading, and lower volume and so on. But that accelerated. So when prices accelerate, that could be the end of the move, but it accelerated from a base. It didn't accelerate from a secondary or third move within the trend. This is a nice long base. Now, as this goes sideways here, and you see it forms pivot highs and pivot lows, and does it break below? If it breaks below, it's got a void below, and the wide range bar, it could fall a relatively large amount. If it holds up and it takes it out, it's got room to go up. So let's compare that to the Qs again. And so here's our wider range bar. It does have room to go up. So far, it's just whipping around here. It's up several days in a row. We'll see what it's going to do. And here's our 15-minute chart where we can see the end of day base or consolidation. You'll want to be aware of that 460 pivot down there. If it breaks down below that, no, it's more than just wiggling around over here. Ideally, it won't even break below. You can see these bars right here, but if it breaks below that area, probably we've got a high point in on the daily chart. For the moment, it's got room to go up. We'll see if it does. It's IWM. Played some catch up at the end of the day. So yesterday, and here in the green room, for those of you on social media, you should get the trial. Come in there, spend a week with us. The education is great, and the trades are intraday are great. And so we had one on the. Let me go back to SPY because that is what was the trade, and you can see the setup there on the 15-minute chart. But what we were talking about at the time where it was setting up was right here. And so this was yesterday's opening price was right here. And so it was consolidating there. And I mentioned, let's see what this does. Does it break down or pop back up again? And it popped back up. And that's when I said, okay, there's our trade entry point. And it made really nice move there for an intraday trade. Took a little while, but played out beautifully. And I had also pointed out was down here, and again, this is a 24-hour chart, but we had this kind of sloppy price action over here that was bottoming out, and then that started to play the catch up. And being the laggard, it took some time, but eventually in the latter part of the day, it started to pick up some steam. It did stop at the 50 MA there, which was right at the top of that bar. And so now we're getting the same kind of whipping around, but it's gapped up. And, maybe this can continue to play some catch up. We're going to see. SMHs, I was saying that this was going to be the best performer in my opinion, because it was the biggest loser and it was, extended, almost 30% down. And this 180 reversal here, as this was forming a base on the hourly chart, that was my opinion that the semiconductors were going to be the place where you get the biggest bang for the buck, and that moved up nicely. Even the Intel, the biggest dog, was getting bought. So it just pounded down, and it doesn't look all that significant. But I also had pointed out there was a nice buy setup there, which was right here, yesterday as it began to pull back. So catch-up trades are are great, especially when the markets or a sector have been moving up and money begins to gravitate into the dogs. Or I jokingly said yesterday, um, Alex was looking at some other dogs, and I said, "Oh, you're dumpster diving more so." And so, we've done some empty lives on dumpster diving and that strategy of, sector rotation and money going into the garbage, so to speak. And, they tend to begin to perform a bit. It's still, things have been crushed. It's going to take a long time for this thing to come back. And let's see, XLK, that came up nicely. It's got some room. That's gapping up a little bit here. Retailing. Tomorrow we've got retail sales, and Walmart is going to be reporting. I don't know if that's before the open or after the close, but maybe that's going to be playing some catch up there as well. You can see this nice consolidation there. So maybe some retailing stocks, can move up a bit. Someone likes to Tinder on social media saying there's another catch-up trade. But it's gapping up, relatively large amount into this unfilled gap. So I'd be careful about chasing that one. Likes to. Everything, not everything, but a lot of things gapping up for several days in a row tends to be more profit taking than going for it. So, generally it's better to be buying pullbacks than buying breakouts at a time like this. As prices have moved up a bit. Flip back here to some indices. Another dogging index, transports, what's gotten killed, airlines, gapping up a little bit. You got to start looking for things that could play some catch up at this point. And so, there's airlines, just transports to take a look at. What could bring up the rear, so to speak. Financials. Got that potent reversal day yesterday, and even things that are underperforming on a day like yesterday, where things were pretty bullish, things were moving up. And one of the measures, I don't know if I have one here. I might have to go to this. Hold on a second. Got so many pages open. Hold on. I'm looking for an intraday one. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a good idea. You don't have to stare at this chart at all, but you can put it in a watch list to just see the number. And as a general concept, is look, if this thing is over plus 1,500 on the day, and this was, that's just generally saying that the short side is less likely to work out. And even if it is a short setup, the odds are on the long side on a day where this is up above 1,500, and such as where it was. So something to keep in mind. All right. Now, if this turns down today, and you can see it's gapping up a little bit above those highs, but if we were to get a red bar today like that I think would be a no-brainer short setup. So we'll see how it plays out here. Um, yeah, regional banks underperforming. I don't know if they'll pay some catch up or whether it's going to break down. Just opposing pivot highs and pivot lows. Stay away until something else more meaningful develops. Bitcoin coming up into the gap. You got a rejection there. Really not much going on. Gold up near the highs, so far holding up. I mentioned yesterday, look, if this thing can close like this, after moving up and consolidating, assuming it doesn't collapse all the way back down, I think it's going to be a go next week above this consolidation. This is a nice weekly chart, wider bar, bottoming tail bar, inside bar, resting. That could certainly be a go to next week. Silver's been underperforming. That's definitely not a go to. And crude oil, mentioned that wide range bar. So it's a powerful concept. Wide range bar is ending, wide range bar is igniting. You got to look to the left, support and resistance. This is coming up into resistance. And so far, it's just chopping around after getting there in the wide range bar. But we'll see how today unfolds. The news is out, so the news risk is out of the way. Tomorrow there's more economic reports. So sick of it. I don't think they're gonna, the retail sales, I think, is gonna be the major impact rather than the jobless claims. I'm not sure that how much that's going to be in focus anymore, but the retail sales, what's the consumer doing? Um, and so we'll see what happens there. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. My first reaction when I saw the print of down 0.1%, what was it, 2.9 versus 3, and the market's going crazy up, this and that. I'm like, they're so hypersensitive to such small numbers. It's like obnoxious even. But you got boxes that come out and trade those. So that's part of the whip, just like a Fed meeting. I mean, there's firms that specialize just in trading economic numbers and earnings and major news events. All right, AMD, I had an alarm. We did good in the selling puts on semis this week. You know, I told Greg, I wish we just bought 30-minute high on this gap down. So we underperformed in some directionals. We were really hoping it would come down and retest, but that 180 was your opportunity to trade the pounds further. Oscar, long watch, my alarm went off. Sam's list, Agilent, Sam's list over the high. I like doing we can sell the 120 puts as an earnings trade. So you got earnings risk. But I'll be doing that. Oh, actually, yeah, I saw the one. Well, that's an interesting statement, Greg. And here's what I mean. I think a more accurate number is, yeah, the amount of debt, but what percent of that is paying interest? Like, I rack up 6 grand of credit card every month, but I pay it off every month. I've never paid interest on a credit card in my life, but my 6,000 is part of that trillion.
You're not the norm, Dan.
No, I know. I said I'd like to know the number. That's all.
Well, they're measuring historical numbers, and when that was like, I don't know, 9 months ago maybe that they reported, it had first reached $1 trillion. Um, and so now it's probably more than that, as people are, you know, with inflation to pay for whatever they want to pay for. But, I imagine it's getting worse. We're going to see. Maybe it's a miracle.
Oh, Greg, a trillion is nothing, compared to Biden giving away 1.6 trillion of student debt. Trillion here, trillion there, who cares? 1980, these are earnings I'm looking at right now. Don, this is not a classic gap and crap just because of the way it moved from the bottom, which is bullish. But still, gap in the 1970 on earnings after straight up for 8 days. That is a gap and crap call spread idea. So when I say idea, every time I talk about gappers, I give a bias, and within the first 30 minutes, I'll typically tell you if that bias pans out. Um, wow, that's a big old gap. Need a pull, nothing to do with it. Oclo looks like a dead animal. Echo Charlie. So it's a sell setup, but it's gapping too big. Now here's another one. This is not a quality sell setup because of the 90% retracement. And so I just textbook say it's still shortable, just don't expect a new low. And when I see something like this, my target just eyeballing is 50%. So, it's already eating some of my target there. Now, bearish gap. That looks horrible. Look at that. What's that? No, it's not all-time lows, but that's a horrible gap. Mercy, mercy. 37, bullish gap. Let's watch that on a pullback. Oh, here a couple others before I forget. Amazon is on my list for a day trade directional and put spread. I just saw Duncan going by the ticker, so I looked at it. That is a bullish retest pattern. So the gap's too big, but I love that for put spread on a pullback. I was looking at a couple solars, ENPH, put spread, Fizzler. Look at this. All time frames are in alignment of this. And some people think multiple time frame alignment means they're all in the same trend. Absolutely not. It means they're all bullish. And what time frame are you trading? So the daily on Fizzler is a breakout from a bottoming pattern. The weekly is a pullback. It is a pullback with a downside shakeout, and monthly is a buy setup. So those are all in amazing alignment. I wish I saw this thing yesterday. That would have been a fantastic 30-minute high as a 1, 2, 3. All right, back to earnings. Yeah, Intel's on the list. We have naked puts, but I gave it as puts. I gave it as a long calls. That's another total catch-up pattern right there. Greg, I think we need to do an MT live on catch-up patterns. We do talk about them in retracement, but not good enough at all as a standalone topic. This Ford is a catch-up. And the reason this is just such a no-brainer is you overlay it with the sector. And it's dogging it. But this thing, it's up from here to here. And so this one you're chasing a moving train. Whereas Intel, you got a nice little retest there, closing breakout with a big void. That's a catch-up trade. Yeah, Tim's asking about an Oscar here. Yeah, I mean, we just for technical definitions, we call the 1, 2, 3, 4 when it trades under a prior bar's low, which this one did not. So it's a 1, 2, 3 with 3 inside bars, which is wonderful because if you go to an hourly, you got 3 days of hourly support. And I got a void. My target would be 2020, spot 50. All right, back to earnings. QFin. Another type of possible gap and crap, but it's actually bullish weekly, monthly. So I like the other one better that I mentioned. X-Ray Papa. Recent IPO, $18. If this can go sideways for about a week, then I will keep this on my watch list to buy a subsequent breakout. So that I like. Let's see here. Show on YouTube, or Pavel rather, question to the green room participants. So they're talking to you all and me. It says, have you traded GNLN? And I don't ever remember talking about it, but that surely was an igniting gap breakout there. I don't see any obvious place to get on board. Possible 15-minute breakout. NATL. Put spread. If there's any juice at 28. FNB is gold. Wow. That's an ugly gap. We'll come back to it. Oh, crowd bottom right here. Not earnings, but it's on my list. See it gapped up. It's coming in. Ticker's coming in a little. It's 928. So we're in no rush today. We sold puts on IWM right into the close when it went above 208. And so it gapped up. It's coming in. I'm just sitting, and there's 99.9% chance if it opens right here, we're going to have an open gain. Because number one, we got overnight time decay. Number two, they knew it was a known event, so the puts were spiked a little more. So we're going to get vol contraction. But I'm looking at this to add to the position as another catch-up trade. Yeah, Greg, if you want to email me a list of catch-up things just off the top of your head, I'll start building a list. So I've already listed 3 of them here, 3 or 4: Intel, IWM, Dunking, Intel, Forge. All right, these are earnings in the morning. UBS, no pattern. Ka. 10. Wow, that's a big old gap. Now this one, Don, is not what we call a gap and crap. It's what we call an excessive gap. But I don't know. 30-minute low could possibly be a call spread. All right, post alarm, Sam, this was yours. Alarm went off. That looks great. VRE, Sam, closing breakout, daily, weekly, monthly. It's a slow mover, but VRE is on my list. So those are 2 alarms out of the gate. A WBA alarm. Let's move stop 5-minute high. We have long puts in this. Beam. Wow, Alex, you are so much more aggressive than I at the market open. Unless it's, 1 out of 10 day igniting type of setup with a bullish pre-market. I surely like waiting 5 minutes. But you've been around the block before. CAG, Sam I am, that's you. A good thing we sold. We took some profits on WBA at the dead low. NEE low alarm. We did a put spread for Friday, so it's an early alarm. EAT excessive gap down. See, this is a bearish gap. It's in the middle of no man's land, but I still had it on my list for a possible put spread, 30-minute high. Doing nothing with it now. Q's relative strength of the four horsemen right here. But there's no pattern. It's for swinging for sure. Hey, ALB, Sam, I am. Or no, we found this in scanning last night. We're scanning 1, 2, 3s. So it's an early alarm. I'm going to get rid of EAT. Put ALB here. This is a bear 1, 2, 3 relative weakness. And we can check options as always for directional puts if they're liquid, and also a call spread. Oh yeah, CMG. We still have these long 54 calls, and I actually have my option table up here. Let's sell half at 30 cents, and it's just to reduce our loss because it went against us on that gap down, but well, we only have one contract, so can't do it yet. LUV alarm, sell setup, LUV. My alarm went off. Oh yeah, I got a monster gain. I got a nice gain in mine. It must be a little spready because it's not filling me at midpoint. Because it's falling a little bit too. But I'm gonna take some money on these because I did a big lot in 2 accounts. IWM's actually relative weakness now. All right, so I took some money there. And then I got some naked, I got some naked 202s with an open profit. So I'm gonna let it simmer down right here. Dollar following UUP. I'm gonna let it simmer down and then bail half under a 6-minute low. My jets are actually stabilizing, so LUV is relative weakness. Let's short under today's Wednesday. Let's short under Monday's low, stop Monday's high. Alex, I'm glad you were not trading PIG, PIG. So Monday's low, 25.30. Who's that? 24, 29. Wow, that's only 6 cents away. Let me check puts too. EMPH. Let me change the entry over the high. 113.22. EMPH 113.22. Man, I don't 113. I don't know. I don't know what happened with that post, but guess I had something under it. All right, GM, we're gonna cancel. This was gonna be a short, so I'm glad it did not trigger. No, A gapped over. So A is a go if you get filled. We were gonna short the 120 puts. For September. All right, set my order out. Order sent, 90 cents. Yeah, my alarm went off. Yep, yep. I yelled at Sam when my alarm went off. I just didn't look at it. The CAG looks good, 180 breakout. Um, crowd. Um, there wasn't enough juice for put spread, but 30-minute high directional. This ALB triggered. ALB. I didn't give it official, but I like that weakness as a directional and a call spread. So ALB puts not too bad, but we'd have to go out 78, 78. We're a little tight. Let me go to next week. That would be the 81s. Eighty-one, 84 is 40 cents. Let's do that. I'm behind with posts again. AMD low alarm, so take your money on the call. I'm sorry, the put spread. We had the 129, 125. The midpoint 6 cents, so take it. That's 18, so we're out at 9. All right, so see why I am not aggressive here on, economic days. All right, so I just stopped at a sum of IWM, my naked ones. All right. Arm. We have a put spread. Let's take the money in this 107, 102. $5. The Q's ugly reversal intraday. Wow, Google's tanking. Netflix rocking. There's more talk about splitting up Google, so the FTC is after them. Maybe B, yeah, looks good. Same. I like the 15-minute reversal too. Yeah, Google's a call spread. Um, AVB, Google, let there be juice. I don't think this monopoly stuff is going away by Friday. No juice unless we went out the next week. But I don't trust it yet. You're getting on board a moving train there, Patrick. Um, Coin, we have a put spread, it's doing nothing. That knee we know about. Let me set a new alarm. Oil pretty much doing nothing. Our put spread is fine. 290, 285. Yep, we have an open profit now. 508.